Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Healing Happens podcast. This is episode 18. I'd like to begin this episode by just taking a couple deep breaths. Let's slow it all the way down. However you'd like to take them, just let yourself receive the breath as it comes into your body. Feel the opening. Feel the softening of the edges. And just allow yourself to be nourished by the breath coming into the body. Okay, if you closed your eyes, you can go ahead and open them, or maybe you just leave them closed for the rest of the episode. Do you? I used to say this often at the beginning of my yoga classes, like when I would start with meditation or pranayama, I would often be like, that was for me, y'all. I was racing around like crazy trying to get here, and I needed a moment to let my system settle. So thank you for humoring me and doing that with me. So we are back with episode 18, and this is the first episode I've released in nearly 3 months. I don't know exactly when this will come out, but yeah, it's about 3 months. I had intended to take a break from the podcast and the YouTube channel following my 10 Days to 10 Years Sober mini-series that I released leading up to my sober birthday on May 3rd. I intended to take about a month off. That was a really big project. It was 10, videos and episodes in 10 days and a lot of moving parts. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to chill. And then right around the time when I was going to pick up again, I had like a really big event happen in my life, a really big awakening, a really big lesson. And I have slowed down a lot and scaled back a lot. And I am actually just emerging from a whole month off of social media, a whole month off of my, newsletter subscribers, like everything. I've still been working with my one-on-one clients, but that's really all I've been doing in terms of, my work and my business for the last month. And I feel like my relationship with this podcast right now is a little bit like when you need to call someone and you have something to say to them, or, you said you'd call them back. And then the more time passes, the more it becomes a thing in your mind, and then the more resistance you have to actually just making the call. And the longer you wait, the more of a thing that it becomes in your mind. That's kind of where I've been at with this podcast, I feel. That combined with the fact that I truly don't feel yet like I have the words to describe what I have experienced, intensely and acutely over about the last 2 months, 2 to 3 months, but more so what I've been experiencing over the last 8 months or so. This has been a tremendous time of slowdown for me. It's the first time that I've really allowed myself time and space and support and reflection and rest and all of these things, maybe in my whole life. I've taught about rest for years, particularly since becoming a Yoga Nidra guide, and I practice Yoga Nidra daily, and I weave rest into my life in that way. But when it comes to actually slowing my life down so that I can move at a pace that I can feel, now that's a challenge for me, as it is for many of us. And so this time in what I'm kind of calling the pregnant pause or the fertile dark has been so intense and so beautiful, and I have learned so much, and I have received so much, and I have truly landed at a way deeper level of embodiment than I ever knew possible. But at this stage, it's still a frequency, it's still a felt sense, it's a solidity that I feel in my body. It is like, I've landed and I'm here. And, you know, about 3 months ago now, it's crazy that it's been that long, I pushed and I forced, and I made a really expensive error. But in the aftermath of it all, over the last couple months, I've realized that the lesson that I received from this could not have come any other way. I had to push, I had to force, I had to override my system. I had to let that part of me that is so uncomfortable just being where I am and accepting this stage of the journey and accepting the discomfort of it. I had to let that part of me play out the pattern one more time. I had to let that part of me run the show and run some shit into the ground. And she delivered. And it's so interesting because my word for this year has been reality. And at the end of last year, when I started my work with my current teacher, Perry Chase, I became very clear from the beginning of entering her space that fantasy is a huge pattern that I have been running my entire life. Fantasy was my first way of escaping. It was my first addiction, really. It was my first way of breaking from reality and not having to be in my body, 2 feet on the ground, in acceptance of what is happening right here, right now. It was my way of staying closed and not opening to let life work me and move through me. And you all know my story by now, probably, you know, that fantasy pattern and that addiction to escape through fantasy as a child turned into a lot of other far more serious addictions. And, you know, I no longer put my head down on my desk and literally break from reality and enter a fantasy world through daydreaming and things like this, but the fantasy pattern still runs. It runs in a lot of areas of my life, and it causes a lot of harm to me in my life. And so I thought that I was doing really well with my word for the year, which is reality. And I thought that I was, you know, answering the call and showing up and doing the work and being in reality. And in some ways I was. But there was still a part of me that wanted to bypass the journey. And there was still a part of me that was holding on so tightly to my egoic wants instead of allowing true desire to work me. Whew, man. And so, what needed to happen is I needed to withdraw and go inside, and I needed to silence external voices so that I could actually get in touch with myself and hear my own voice again. And that is what this time off of social media has allowed me to do. It's allowed me to gain tremendous clarity around what I actually even want in my life, in my business. It allowed me to get off of this hamster wheel of chasing this like particular vision that a lot of other people in this space are going for. And it gave me enough space from that to realize that that's not even what I want. That's not even how the universe wants to create through me. That was a very scarce, closed position for me. And so I'm not exactly sure how things are going to take shape yet, but I just wanted to get on here and begin the conversation. I wanted to break the silence. I wanted to hit record on that first, episode back after a, unintentional break. Wanted to get back in the groove. I wanted to get back on the horse, and I just wanted to share this feeling of, it's so interesting. A lot of my close people or, people who know are like acquaintances and stuff, I've been talking to them about, what's been going on with me. And every single person has said the exact same thing and provided the exact same reflection, which is, wow, you sound so grounded and so clear. And I do, and I am. I am so grounded, and I am so clear. I literally feel different in my physical body. I feel as if I inhabit more of myself now than I ever have. And it has become so clear to me that embodiment requires stillness. Embodiment requires that we move slow. Embodiment doesn't necessarily happen during the big expansions and the quantum leaps and like the time when the energy is outward. The embodiment actually happens in the inevitable contraction in between those expansions. Embodiment happens from the down and in energy instead of the up and out energy. And once you have something in your body, once that embodiment hits, it's yours and no one can take it away from you. And so this clarity and this groundedness and this embodiment and the opening that I am starting to experience as a result of deep surrender and willingness to keep going down and in when I would much rather be going up and out. This has been a priceless gift that I have given myself, and it has really informed what my medicine is to share when the time is right for me to share it. And it looks very different than what I wanted it to look like or my mind's idea of what it was. But that's what happens in the fertile dark. We can actually allow life to carve us. We can say yes to the lessons. We can be sure that we are never not on the right path. The double negative version of that just hits way harder than the affirmative. So we are never not on the right path. And so every part of this experience over the last 8 months and the last 3 months and every painful, expensive, intense lesson that I have learned has been a necessary part of my soul's journey and what will allow me to ultimately serve my purpose and serve my people in the way that only I can. So I'm going to be talking a lot more about slowness. I'm going to be talking a lot more about intentional living. I'm going to be talking a lot more about magic in the mundane. I'm going to be talking a lot more about the fertile dark and what is actually required for embodiment and what embodiment actually even is. It's not just like dancing sexy in a reel on Instagram. Like many of the influencers would have us believe. But for now, I just kind of wanted to come on here and be seen and felt and reconnect and just start to share like the fruit and the nectar of this time. It's been a time in my life that I'll never forget, that in the moment I was not stoked about, but I know I will be infinitely grateful for. So I'm back. I have created a completely free online community called Healing Happens Headquarters after this podcast. And I'm really, really excited to open up this space to the public. Our official kickoff event will be a Lionsgate portal breathwork activation. It's going to be a really special circle. I'm going to share my intentions for the space. We're going to practice breathwork. Whether you're a breathwork veteran or you're brand new, all are welcome in this space. I will put the link to join the community in the show notes and the caption on YouTube. And I would love for you to join us. I have a huge vision for this space, and I'm really excited to serve in this way. For right now, all of the practices in the space are free, and I really just want to expose as many people as possible to these modalities and these techniques that have completely changed and shaped my life. So join us in the Healing Happens community. Link is below. And I'm excited to guide you in breathwork for the Lionsgate portal on 8/8. And I'm excited to be back with more episodes as I find the words to describe this journey. Thank you, and I love you, and we will chat again soon.